The problem with the English departments of some of our prestigious universities is they tend to reduce classic writers to fuddy-duddies who have to be handled with care. And as a result, their reputations molder away. Now, it's that time of year that we usually remember one of those moldy old fuddy-duddies, Charles Dickens, who was none of those things. He was a rock star. He was just 25 when he wrote the Pickwick Papers, 27 when Oliver Twist was published, and he was only 31 when he created one of English literature's most memorable characters, Ebenezer Scrooge.
Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, Scrooge. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner, hard and sharp as flint, from which no steel had ever struck out generous fire. Secret and self-contained and solitary as an oyster. The cold within him froze his old features. He carried his own low temperature always about with him. He iced his office in the dog days and didn't thaw it 1 degree at Christmas.
Dickens himself had a tough childhood. His father was sentenced to a debtor's prison, so at 12 years old, Charles Dickens was working in a blacking factory to support his mother and siblings. The social hardships of Victorian England were always at the center of his writings. And to make a point, he decided he was going to write a political pamphlet, talking about how hard times were. And then, as he said to a friend, I think I've changed my mind. I'm not going to write a political pamphlet. I'm going to produce something for Christmas, which is 10 times more powerful than that. And he wrote A Christmas Carol. Now, unless you've been living under a rock all your life, you know the story. One Christmas Eve, the miser Scrooge is visited by 3 ghosts, and as a result, he turns his life round.
I'm not the man I was. Believe me, I'm not the man I was.
Now, Dickens wanted A Christmas Carol published as a standalone high-quality book, but there was a problem because his publishers, Chapman and Hall, weren't that happy with him. Martin Chuzzlewit, which had been his previous book, hadn't sold that well. So they wanted it published as part of an anthology, or maybe even shoved into a magazine somewhere, and Dickens wasn't happy with that. So they negotiated, and Dickens decided that he would pay for the book. Chapman and Hall published it, of course, and they got a percentage of each copy sold, but it was Dickens who was paying for it. And of course, because Dickens was paying for it, he really went to town.
So it is. It's exquisite. It's got gold leaf on the sides of the pages like this. It's illustrated by John Leach. It sold fantastically well. Dickens was rather looking forward to having made a lot of money from it, but he spent so much on producing the book. He'd made it so beautiful that he could never really recoup his expenditure.
Is that the retail price for a restored copy of this shape is about $12,000 to $15,000.
All right. I don't know what I'd do without you.
I know.
All right, see you later.
Nice to see you. You're not going to hear me say this often, but Corey does need to restore this book. And if he doesn't, I'm going to come after him.
A Christmas Carol was the most successful book of the 1843 holiday season. But there's more to the success of Christmas Carol than meets the eye. You see, Dickens wasn't just a great writer, he also wanted to be an actor. So he took Christmas Carol out on the road. He read it to people in public readings, and it was a hit.
So it was a natural progression, really, for Lantern Slide producers to look to the works of Dickens. He was, after all, one of the most popular writers of the time. There were certain supernatural elements as well in Dickens' work which worked very well for the Magic Lantern.
Dickens gave lots of readings up and down the country, and as part of the process for this, he was always cutting down his own narratives. So with A Christmas Carol, for example, you get 2 or 3 set-piece scenes that everybody would know, and those would always be the scenes that would then be transferred into the Magic Lantern Slide.
And naturally, when the newfangled cinema came around, it embraced Scrooge. John Barrymore, Reginald Owen, Alastair Sim, Mr. Magoo, Albert Finney, Scrooge McDuck, Michael Caine, Patrick Stewart, Jim Carrey, and Kelsey Grammer.
All the hours and days and years I've wasted, all the joy and love I never tasted, all the errors of my past replaced with some.
The secret of it is the second chance.
Give me time to change.
Scrooge is a success. In financial terms, he's done terrifically well. But in every other possible way, his life is a disaster. And then he's given this great gift of being shown where he came from, how he started, and gradually what he has become, and the impact of what he has become has had on other people. And he's allowed to take a step back and change himself. And I mean, I start to get emotional just as I think about this. And of course, this is a Shakespearean theme too. He uses this similarly, in which somebody is given an opportunity to change their life and to make that change have an impact on the world around them. I find that really potent.
The love we found, the love we found, we carry with us, so we're never quite alone. The love we found.
The message of A Christmas Carol is one we really should remember today. We live in the sad, modern, unforgiving, woke culture in which one wrong word, one misplaced action, one unthinkable thought condemns us for the rest of our lives. So Merry Christmas. And remember, there's always room for forgiveness. We all make mistakes. We can be redeemed. Like Ebenezer Scrooge was, that Christmas Eve long, long ago.
Nice story, Mr. Dickens.
Oh, thanks. If you like this, you should read the book.